What's up? This is Josh from Neg2YJo, back with a big sort of in-depth guide explainer on how to play TG, at least in my opinion, in the modern context for this current ROTA format. I had a mate who was pretty interested in playing TG and liked the deck, and so we kind of brainstormed this deck. I put quite a bit of time into working out some different lines, how things interact with different engines, and took it to locals just this past weekend. Went 3-1. Gonna probably see some uploads from that event on the channel hopefully soon. Just been flat out with a lot of things recently, so I haven't had the opportunity to do voiceovers as much as I would like to have done that. But we're going to go through sort of in depth on this deck profile, just in case people are not familiar with the with the DG cards. I had quite a few people who had to stop and read things while I was playing this deck. Starting with the Screw Serpent, it's a level 4 tuner. On summon, it gets to reborn level 4 or lower but negate it, and you can also banish it from grave to modulate levels. This effect to reborn, usually it is being saved until towards the end of a combo. Given that it negates stuff, it can be kind of awkward, so you're just sort of waiting on it. I think in future, this will probably be a 2 of. Just had a couple times where having a second one would have been really valuable. Only playing one actually lost me a game. We would have probably gone game 3 without, so can't really say how that would have gone. But definitely lost me a game against Tom, is actually the guy I've been working on this deck with, just because he DD crowed it. Okay. Well, there goes my only high level TG monster for the rest of the game. This is probably a 2 of in future builds. 3 Rocket Salamander. Heart and Soul this deck. Level 1 Fire Pyro, says a million different ways to get to it. You would have probably seen the Azamina cards before, so that, obviously the engine to get to it. This card's insane. This is tribute any TG, special any TG from your deck with a different name, and that monster is not negated. So as a starter, in low power hands, you can go Rocket into Screw, bring back the Rocket, make a 5, play from there. But most of the time, you're going to be tagging into something else, which I will showcase in just a moment. The other effect is if you have a machine TG, which can be itself, that will make sense very soon, you can bring back a TG from your grave, a level 4 lower TG, special in defense. So extremely powerful effects on this guy. Now playing 3 TG level 1s, I would say they're perhaps not the most optimal, but it's what we had available on the day. Booster Raptor is the best one. It is a non-activating special. You slam it down from your hand. Drillfish is the worst. It is an activated special summon that you can only do if you only have TGs. This definitely should be a Gear Zombie in this slot, or an additional Booster Raptor. It's just what we had on the day. It's a level 1 extender. And Tank Grub. This is your usual summon off of the Rocket Salamander, just because it is a level 1 tuner that can also be a non-tuner for your TG Synchros, which you are pretty much only on TG Synchros anyway. And if it goes to grave as Synchro material, for a TG, you get to generate a level 1 non-tuner token. Incredibly powerful effects. Bring 3 of the Double Searcher. If your Azamina stuff gets ashed, you just go this, okay, I'm going to search Rocket Salamander and one of the level 1 extenders and just play from there. It's also recursion. You get to banish it from the grave to add a TG from grave to hand if you have a machine, or you get to shuffle it into the deck. So it's really great. You can send it to the grave on your opponent's turn, so then it's ready and live in your grave for the follow-up turn. All clear. Pop a TG and search another TG from deck. Additional normal summon for a TG, and all your TGs become machines, which is how you get the Rocket Salamander. You can make this a machine and then use this effect to reborn. like that. And then I have a one of TG close, say count trap, just an Omni. You can send it from deck to grave using the Mighty Striker, and then also it'll reset itself if a synchro gets banished, which there is a couple ways of doing that. So it's a pretty small TG package all in, and that's just because there is so many different ways to get to it. The 3 Diabellstar, this gets you into Deception, or if you're going in a more budget-oriented build, you can just go directly for Original into Ash, and Ash search Rocket Salamander, normal Rocket Salamander. That works. If you normal Ash, you can go into Poplar, get Original, do the same thing. Very happy to see that this engine is now a lot more affordable with ROTA Collection. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with this. I'm very fond of this TG deck. I think it's a lot of fun to play, but also I love Synchrons. I think Synchrons are dope. This card is amazing for that. 3 Bonfire, thankfully also nice now and cheap. This can also search Rocket Salamander because of the Pyro. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time you're searching Astral Poplar, but there are some niche cases where it is better to search a Rocket Salamander. 1 of the Hallowed Azamina. This card's crazy. Playing against Runic Stun, you just play Ilya Sylvia Control. It's wild. Additional ways to play, additional starters, 1/1 and Original Sinful, fairly self-explanatory. 3 Wanted, which you'll know what this does by now, and 3 Deception, the Azamina starter cards. So there's far more of these than there are of the TGs, just because you really want to see that Azamina package to start off your TG engine. You'll see in some of the combos exactly how it does that. It's a little more beneficial or a bit more intricate than just like the Snake Eye variant of doing this sort of line. Playing 12 non-engine, 3 Ash, and then a whole bunch of level 1s, which are really helpful because the link 2 that you make with the Azamina stuff is Cross Sheep. Then you get to bring back a level 1, which is going to be combined with your tank grub to make Mighty Striker. So best level 1s that we thought of. 3 DD Crow, still has enough wide hitting, it hits enough decks, banishing out like the Hallowed Azamina from the grave, banishing out White Forest stuff, runic spells. There's still a lot of scenarios where this card is actually really nice. 3 Droll, I am as hurt as you are about the mixed arts, but this card's again just crazy, and 3 Veiler. So it's still, a good set of hand traps. Not perhaps the most common ones. Love to put Fuelos into this deck, but I do not have that card. Getting into the extra deck. The 2 Azamina Fusions. This should be pretty self-explanatory. You go Mew into Original Sinful, link it off with the Diabellstar for Cross Sheep, then go Hallowed, put it back, Hallowed, send Original, make Ilya Sylvia, bring back level 1, then Original Sinful, banish out the Original, put the Diabellstar back, and search Rocket Salamander, play from there. For the 12s, I'm on 3 level 12s. We have Hard Soul, Glaive Blaster. So this is an extra deck monster banish up to the number of non-tuner materials that we use for it, typically 2. So you're going to get double extra deck banish. Also, once per turn, if a monster is banished face up, you can bring it back to your board. So that comes up a bunch of different times in different combos. He really glues things together, being both a disruption and an extender through that one effect. Truly crazy card. And just kind of hard to out. He's huge, 4K. So is this, the Blazer, which obviously accessed off of the Crimson. You can hard make this if you really want, but most of the time you'd rather just make the Glaive and then tag into it off the Crimson. Then the Blade Blaster. This guy's effect to banish himself out is a part of the key combo for this deck. You banish itself out and you get the Glaive to bring itself back. Super nice. For this deck, you have to play 3 level 5 non-tuner TG synchros. Very specific. Hyper Librarian is limited. Then there is Power Gladiator, which is terrible. It doesn't do anything really of relevance. So we play 1 Hyper, draw 1 every time a synchro summon happens, and 2 of the Over Dragoner, because it is the next best one. Once per turn on synchro summon, it is just Soul Charge. You just bring back as many TGs as you want in defense. You can also bring back this, because it does not have a condition that locks it into only being synchro summoned. And then, I don't think it's ever going to come up, but if it's destroyed, you get to draw a card. So in theory, you can all clear, pop it, search a card, and also draw 1. Doesn't ever really come up, but I suppose it is worth mentioning. 1 of the Star Guardian, on special, it adds a TG from grave to hand. Then you can, once per turn, either do a quick synchro. Sorry, not that effect. Once per turn quick synchro, on summon bounce, and then you also can special a TG from your hand. So you usually go, bounce the Screw Serpent from grave to hand, then use this effect to special out the Screw Serpent from hand. Use a Synchro Tuner as well, which combine this with the Hyper or the Over Dragoner to make the Blade Blaster. Then the Mighty Striker, TG Striker got a big upgrade. So on Synchro, you search a TG Spell Trap, and then when it hits the grave, you can dump a TG card from deck. Also has a quick synchro effect. So usually you are doing this plus this to make the Crimson. This gets all clear, and then the other effect that sends from deck to grave will get you the counter trap into rotation. 1 Trident Launcher. With the Azamina combo, this card is absolutely necessary. It is any 2 monsters, including a TG tuner, which will typically be the Cross Sheep and the Mighty Striker. Special 1 from hand, deck, and grave. Now it is like Necros of Trish in that effect. It has to be 1 from each location. So you can't make this and go, oh, I don't have 1 in hand, I'm only going to special from deck and grave. It is required. You need to have 1 in each location to activate that effect. However, it is absolutely gangbusters. You'll see in the combo what it does. It's crazy. It also protects the TG synchros it points to from targeting. So most of the time, when you get to later in the combo, your opponent probably would have already thrown a non-engine piece at you regardless. But in theory, you can protect the stuff it points to from getting impermed or veiled or whatever happens to it, which is nice. The Cross Sheep, integral part of the combo, summon Ilya Sylvia to the zone it points to, and then special from grave. And there are exactly 2 flex slots in this extra deck. They are currently Dark Charmer and SP. These I just felt are the best 2 sort of generic cards. SP is obviously absolutely nuts. This card's crazy. Thank goodness for the ROTA collection reprint. So now everyone will be able to access this card. The Dark Charmer though, I never made it. In testing, I had a situation where it would have been really good to have, so I ended up putting it in. But a lot of the time, when I took this deck to the locals, I just really wanted an Anima, so I could turn 2 1s into an SP Banish. So I think long term, this will also become a relinquished Anima. So all in, the deck should be 41. Screw Serpent would take that to 42. And you are running 12 non-engine in all that. And we're going to get into some combos now, showcase some budget options, kind of what you can do with different lines. Hope you enjoy. Please leave any questions below. Alright, so this is just a simple showcase of what a combo looks like with this deck. Apologies for any complications with recording. I'm currently doing this upside down. That's going from the top. I'll try and get the zoning right as I go, but yeah, this is what's the slogan that John Morehouse of Champs says. I forget the exact wording of it, but it's you're looking at Diabellstar, any card to send for Diabellstar, any level 1. So very simple. So we'll start with Wanted. Go grab the Diabellstar from deck. I'm going to summon at the Diabellstar, sending level 1. Diabellstar will get Deception. Go and put my hand here. Go Deception, Deception Tribute, level 1. Search Hallowed. Hallowed, send the Deception. Summon out the Recielago. Recielago. Go get Original Sinful. I'm going to now turn these two into the Absolute Goat. Cross Sheep. Now you get the Grave effect of Hallowed Azamina. We're going to put the Recielago back into the extra deck and get the Hallowed Azamina to hand. Go Hallowed effect. Send the original. Summon the Ilia Sylvia. It's really, really important that you summon the Ilia Sylvia to the outside zone. So, if the cross sheep is here, it's going to be on the far side. Same here. Reasoning being is that when you make Trident Launcher has to summon to a zone that it points to. So you always want to make sure these 3 are free or these 3 are free. Really, really important. I'm going to get the cross sheep trigger now. I'm going to bring back the level 1 from Grave. Doesn't matter which. TG Tank Grub is able to be treated as a non-tuner for the Synchro over TG. So that's why the exact level 1 that you open with is completely irrelevant. If you really want to cook, you can play no material. Be my guest. We're going to go for the Grave effect of the original. I'm going to banish it. Put the Diabellstar on bottom. And search instead for the Rocket Salamander. I'm going to go normal the Rocket Salamander now. Use its effect. Tribute itself. Summon out the TG Tank Grub. Now we have a level 1 non-tuner by its own effect, and a level 1 tuner. So we can now synchro summon into the completely generic TG Mighty Striker. Now we're going to get 2 triggers here. You're going to have Mighty Striker to search, and Tank Grub effect. It's going to generate a level 1 non-tuner token. This does matter for combos without the Azamina cards. For this combo, the token that you are summoning is literally just going to be fodder for the All Clear. So now we're going to activate the All Clear. All Clear, destroy the token. It has to destroy ATG to search ATG, which just seems like excessive balancing for what is perhaps not the craziest deck to ever exist. Now we are going to link 3 for the often forgotten TG Trident Launcher, which is any 2 effect monsters, including a TG Tuner, which the Mighty Striker is. We now get to trigger Chain 1 Trident and Chain 2 Mighty. It's always nice to chain block. I think realistically, if your opponent has interaction, it would have already been used. But chain blocking a Trident never hurts. So we're going to get Mighty Striker to send the TG Close from deck to grave. Sends any TG card. Trident Launcher will summon 1 from hand, 1 from deck, and also 1 from grave. Now you might otherwise normally expect, okay, we've summoned the Screw Sap and we're going to trigger the effect. That is not the case here. Labbing it out, I found that if you do use the Screw Sap in here, you get zone locked in a really awkward way. You actually really want to save it for later. Sequencing is very important here. So now we're going to use the level 4 tuner and level 1 non-tuner to synchro level 5. I'm going to make the Hyper Librarian. This same kind of thing as I was saying before about how if opponent would have used interaction, they probably already used it if they had it. But in theory, Trident Launcher does protect the TGs it points to from targeting, which is kind of cute. Now, Rocket Salamander, since we control a machine TG, Trident is a machine TG, but all clear also makes all your guys machine anyway. You target and reborn the Screw Serpent back. Now I can synchro 5 with these two into the Star Guardian. You get to trigger the Hyper and draw a card. Oh my goodness, you drew Droll, you are the greatest duelist to ever exist. Star Guardian also gets a trigger on summon to add back a guy from grave, so add back the Screw. Now we have an additional normal because of the effect of all clear, but we can also just use Star Guardian to special, why not? Special out the Screw effect now, target and reborn the Rocket Salamander, bring it back, and synchro 10 into the OG Blade Blaster. Now we synchro 5 with these two into Soul Charge. This card is absolutely insane. I would just resolve this in simplified game states and opponents would just skip it up. This card's crazy. Now, part of the sequencing is because we need to get the right synchro monsters into the grave before Overdragonar goes for the Soul Charge. Because obviously, you know, if we bring back a synchro and another guy who is not a synchro, well, we don't have the requisite materials to actually perform a synchro summon with it and get the correct materials for Blade Blaster. So we have to make sure that these two guys get into the grave before the Overdragonar comes down. Now get to synchro 12 to the big lad himself, the Glaive Blaster. Now we're going to do something a little funky. We get to now go for the Glaive Blaster effect to target and banish our own Blade Blaster. So this guy's just going to peace out for a bit. And what that does then is that triggers number 1, Glaive Blaster, gets to bring it back. And number 2, the TG Close gets to reset itself to the board, but banish it when it leaves the field. So that's how you get your Omni counter trap back online. The Blade Blaster is going to be brought back off the Glaive Blaster. Because, you know, we started with Wanted, we're also going to get to draw a card here by putting back the original. Wow, you're crazy, you're the best duelist to ever exist. And we get to go end phase here. End phase, we also get back the Deception. My tripod is going to slightly get in the way of everything. So we got 2 sets, all clear. We drew 2 cards over the course of the combo. So starting with 3 cards, we've regened 2 of them, and also made this board off of Diabellstar plus just completely generic cards to send. So going to your opponent's turn here, in their draw phase, and it has to absolutely be in their draw phase, you get to go Blade Blaster effect. You're going to banish a guy from your grave, you can banish out the Mighty Striker, and banish the Blade Blaster as well. What that's going to do, you're going to then trigger the Glaive Blaster. It's going to bring back the Mighty Striker that got banished, and then you go to your opponent's standby and you get Blade Blaster to trigger. So Blade only, he banished himself and then brings himself back in the next standby phase. So obviously the next standby phase is the phase immediately following here, going from your opponent's draw to your opponent's standby, which is why that sort of timing there is mission critical. You have to bring this back, and obviously, you know, you can sort of work out exactly where this is going. In your opponent's turn, once you get to an open game state, you get to go quick synchro with these 2 into the Crimson. You're going to trigger the Mighty Striker to send a TG card from deck. Send the Limiter removal, because this, during a follow-up turn, you get to banish it from grave. And if you have a machine TG, add a TG from go to hand, or if not, shuffle it back into the deck. So you're going to get a bit of recursion through that. No reason not to. You get to go, obviously, Crimson, target the Glaive, bounce it to your extra deck, summon out the Cosmic Blazer. This combo does ultimately go through a lot of your extra deck. We now only have 4 cards remaining, but in theory these cards are absolutely cracked. You're going to get to bounce the Ilya Sylvia back as well. Over Dragonarch can Reborn, and Star Guardian triggers on special to add a card to hand, so you can still cycle back your extra deck cards doing that. Same with limiter removal. And now in this situation, for your follow-up turn, you got both the All Clear and the Deception of Sinful Spoils. And your end board, you have an Omni, but this Omni also gets to stop attacks, it gets to stop summons, it banishes itself for the turn and then comes back, which is pretty crazy because then it's going to be safe from removal. If in theory your board survives, you get to the next turn, you can go like Blazar Banish itself to negate a card, Glaive, immediately trigger to bring the Blazar back and get another negate out of it. We've got Ilya Sylvia, which negates an effect instead of an activation. So if your opponent is using a card that is activate once per turn instead of use once per turn, Ilya Sylvia will mean they won't get to use a second copy. Stuff like Triple Tactics Talent. You've got TG Close, which is an Omni, but it's a counter trap, so they can't respond to that. You have in theory, 1, maybe 2 cards if you started with Wanted that you drew, plus 2 other cards in your opening hand, so you could have potentially more hand traps. And Glaive Blaster, which is going to be a double banish of a monster that was summoned from the extra deck. Plus then, your follow-up, you also got Limit Removal that we just talked about as a card that you sent. So huge amount of follow-up from this, as well as a lot of interaction. Very powerful, lots of big guys, kind of hard to interact with as well. We'll get into some other combos now as well. This is a showcase of what you can do with Rocket Salamander plus a TG Extender. This could ultimately be, any sort of way to Rocket Salamander plus an Extender. I'll do another combo afterwards that showcases, just sort of starting to show that point. But if you're looking to play without the Azamina cards, you can fill out the rest of the deck with crossouts, call by, and do something like this. So we'll start with the normal Rocket Salamander. Gonna go Specially Booster Raptor by its own effect. Rocket, tribute itself off. Summon out the Tank Grub. And then we have a level 1 tuner, level 1 non-tuner. So Synchro 2. Into the Mighty Striker. Get the, move that a little bit. Get the Mighty effect and the Tank Grub effect. That's a little chain block. So bring out the level 1 token, and Mighty get the All Clear to hand. Now activate the All Clear. All Clear, we're going to pop the Mighty again. So a bit different to the Azamina combo, just because we don't need to keep the tuner on board for the Trident Launcher. And now trigger the Mighty effect to hit the grave. Send from deck to grave, the close, we're going to get this back later on. Something that I've seen a lot of combos online is that people sort of focus in on tunneling into Trident Launcher when they absolutely do not need to, and it is actively making their boards worse. So this will be a good sort of showcase of why that is completely unnecessary. All Clear, additional normal. Bring out the Screw effect to target and reborn. I'm going to bring back the Rock Salamander. Doesn't really matter, it could just be any of the level 1 non-tuners. Going to then Synchro 5 with these two. Into Soul Charge. Over Dragonarch effect, we're going to reborn as many as we can. We're going to bring back you, and you. A couple of reborns here are more important than others. We want to get back the Rock Salamander, because that's going to have our effect to reborn stuff. Screws level 4, so that's important. Mighty Striker is important for later on, but the Tank Grub could be any level 1s. Over Dragonarch is bringing it back, not negated, so it can be a tuner or non-tuner. And at this point we are TG locked, so that effect is tuna or non-tuna for a TG specifically, but the whole rest of the combo is just going to be TGs because we are locked by Over Dragonar anyway, so that stipulation doesn't really doesn't matter here. I'm going to go Screw and the Tank Grub, Synchro 5 into Hyper, and we're going to be getting a lot of draws off this card for this combo. Rocket Salamander effect, target level 4 to reborn it, but it is negated. Going to Synchro 5. Just going to sort of climb through the ladder. Star Guardian, so we get this mandatory to draw a card, and the Star Guardian to target and add from grave to hand. Add back the Screw again. This card's level is just so important. Add to hand. Effect to special. So now bring the Screw Serpent out again, using the level 1 non-tuner that we brought out off the Tank Grub all those many years ago, and Synchro 5 into the second level 5 non-tuner. It's going to be Power Gladiator, doesn't really matter, it's just Dragonar is better for longer games. Draw another card off the Hyper. And now we're going to make the big guy. 5, 5, 2 for a Synchro 12. Making the Glaive Blaster. Trigger Hyper for the last time in this combo, drawing another card. So yeah, we started with a 2-card combo, we've drawn 3 cards, and we're now going to end on the board. Very similar to before, what I showcased with the Azamina cards. It just obviously does not have the Trident Launcher or the Ilia Sylvia, but is functionally the same thing. And now this ending sequence is again just going to be the exact same. We're going to go Glaive, banish the blade, trigger both the Glaive and also the DG Close to set itself back to the board. And then pass your opponent's turn, draw phase, same thing as before, using the blade to banish itself, and the Mighty, getting the Glaive Blaster to bring back the Mighty, and then in your opponent's standby, the blade bringing itself back, and then in an open game state, when you get a chance to, you get to synchro these both off. For the Crimson, you get the Mighty Striker effect to send from deck to grave. So we're going to send a limiter removal. Now that'll be the follow-up for next turn. Crimson, bounce away, summon the Blazer. So it's kind of the same thing, you have one less Omni, but you are committing one less card from hand with this combo. The previous was Diabellstar Ascend to level 1. This is just Rocket Salamander plus an extender. So I'll pack this up and I'll show how this is the same thing, even if that sort of access to Rocket Salamander plus an extender looks a little bit different. Alright, so here's the same thing. We're looking at, for this combo, just a single copy of Snake Eye Ash as a starter to showcase why that is the same thing. This also works with Diabellstar, so when we get to that moment, I'll just pause to show you exactly sort of how that looks. But yeah, if you're playing without the Azamina stuff, Diabellstar is still an auto-include because it does the same thing as opening a single Snake Eye Ash here. Go normal Ash effect, search Poplar effect to summon itself, get original Sinful to hand, then you go original. I'm going to send away one of them, it doesn't really matter which. Summon out from deck the Rocket Salamander. Poplar will place itself, but I'm just going to ignore that right now for space. Rocket Salamander effect, tribute into the TG Tank Grub. So the reason Diabellstar is the same thing is, if you go Diabellstar, effect, send a card and get the original sent from deck, you can go Sinful into Snake Eye Ash, and then Ash just search the Rocket Salamander, and then normal it, tag into Tank Grub, and so you're going to end up with the exact same scenario here. It's not going to be any different. And now it's just going to look the exact same as before, so I'm just going to kind of speed through this. Mighty, get both the token and the all clear, The all clear, pop the mighty, get screw, mighty send close from deck, additional normal, summon it out, effect, target and reborn the rocket, synchro 5, Dragonar reborn, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it is exactly the same thing as before. I'm going to go 4 and 1, hyper, rocket, bring back screw, synchro it off. For the Star Guardian, get to draw a card off the hyper, and add back the Screw Serpent, Star, summon it out, sync 5, Dragonar, draw another card, then we'll go all of these together, Diabellstar, draw the final card, synchro these two together. For the Diabellstar, do the little shimmy to get this back, and same things before. So that's kind of what you can do, you know, if you're looking at cutting out the Azamina cards, making the deck a little bit more affordable. If you just sort of look at keeping the Diabellstar cards as the Diabellstar package with the Bonfire, the Ash Poplar, the original, all that is you know, I wouldn't say it is, you know, it's, you know, pennies or whatever, but is far more affordable, I think, you know, attainable for a reasonable price. So and that still sort of remains fairly budget in my mind. But if you want to cut out the Azamina stuff, you know, you'd go your Rock Salamanders, your Snake Eyes, and then you sort of look at bumping up those free extenders, the Raptor, the Gear Zombie, Drillfish. If you are so inclined, you can also play a Miscellaneousaurus, because that then is functionally a 4th copy of Booster Raptor. And kind of the same thing, it's just summoning the Booster Raptor from deck instead of from hand. With that being said, we'll have a look at some corner case combos of sort of how it can vary depending on the opener. Alright, so we're looking at pretty much worst of all case hands here. We've opened Rocket Salamander and absolutely nothing else. Now, unfortunately, this really doesn't do very much at all in this deck. You're probably just going to get run over, but I feel like it's worth showcasing regardless. You get null the rocket, rocket effect, tribute itself off, summon the screw from deck, screw effect, reborn the rocket, sync 5 into Dragonar. Dragonar is just going to bring them both straight back, straight away. Synchro 5 again. Make the Star Guardian. Star Guardian gets to add back the screw for next turn, and that's it. Look, you know, you can make Diabellstar if you are playing the Azamina version of the deck, like I do, and you're limited on extra deck slots. If you are playing a pure and you have some more extra deck slots, you can run, you know, potential flex options here. You could make a Disparter during your opponent's turn using the quick synchro effect of Star Guardian. It's because this is a dragon non-tuner and Disparter is generic on its tuner requirement. You could potentially go into the Sword Soul Synchro 10, the Sovereign, I believe it's called, that gets to banish stuff when your opponent's card is banished. You know, depending on, you know, if you have a DD Crow or something in hand, you go in there, you DD Crow a card from their grave, you trigger the effect and banish another card from their grave and a card from the field. But otherwise, Screw Serpent on its own is unfortunately incredibly low impact. But I think, realistically, this deck has enough extenders, regardless of which version you're playing, that it's not a realistic scenario, but I suppose it is helpful if you're not sure what is possible. It's this and really not much else. Alright, so this is just a quick showcase of a budget alternative kind of starter engine to the Deception package. If you're looking to avoid playing the Azamina stuff, do something else, this is going to showcase the Kepler line. This same line is possible with a package of playing 3 Terratop, 1 Red-Eyed dice. It's going special Terratop, search Red-Eyed, normal Red-Eyed, make this into a level 1. It's just basically any way to get to Mighty Striker does this. So you're going to first normal the Kepler. Kepler's going to get Gate, negate, and Gate is going to search a Lamia. Use your Lamia effect, sending the Gate away to special it. Then you go Synchro, Lamia gets banished, and Kepler will go to your extra. And you can make a Mighty Striker. Mighty effect will get you the All Clear. Activate the All Clear. Shuffle this up a little bit. All Clear is going to pop the Mighty. And you're going to search Rocket Salamander. And then Mighty effect is going to send the Screw Serpent to the grave. You get to normal the Rocket. Since there is a machine TG on the board, All Clear is turning Rocket into a machine. You can then use the Rocket to bring back the Screw. And then the second effect of Rocket, tagging it out for a Tank Grub from the deck. Now you have the materials to Synchro 5, to Dragonar, Dragonar, and also the Tank Grub effect to get the token. Summoning that up, and then summoning back as many TGs as possibly can. We are going to end up using them all. So a whole ton of guys here. Now you get to go Synchro 5 using the Rocket Salamander and the Screw Serpent. It doesn't matter ultimately which you really use. You could use either tokens or the Tank Grub for it, because you've already used the Rocket Reborn and Tag, and you're just using the Screw Serpent as the level 4. You can make a Star Guardian. Star Guardian trigger on summon. Add the Screw to hand. Star Guardian effect to then special the Screw out. We're going to synchro with the Screw again. Remembering the Tank Grub can be used as a non-tuner for a TG synchro. Gonna make the Hyper Librarian. Unfortunately, this line does not get to draw any cards off the Hyper. Gonna synchro with Hyper, over Dragonar and Mighty into a 12. Gonna make the TG Glaive Blaster. Now we're gonna use the Grave effect of Screw, which is gonna modulate a level until the end of the turn. So we're gonna banish it and modulate the Star Guardian. Doesn't matter up or down, because we're just gonna let it reset its level at the end of the turn. So modulate it to 4, banish the Screw, trigger the Glaive to then bring back the banished Screw. Now I can trigger the Screw because it was specialed. We haven't yet done that. Doesn't matter what you bring back here really, because it is going to be negated. I think that the Mighty is probably best, and you'll see why exactly that is. Now we're going to Synchro 5 with the Screw and the token that was generated off the Tank Grub into our last over Dragonar. And that's going to be end board for now. We are at this point TG locked. You could make a Blade Blaster here, but given that the Mighty is negated, you can't quick synchro with it. And it also was not special from the extra, so you can't Glaive banish it to bring it back non-negated. You could, in theory, if you want, leave it in grave instead of the Screw bringing it back. So if you wanted, you could go for these two into the Blade Blaster, but the Blade only gets to bash from grave and then bring itself back during the following standby. So you wouldn't be able to, you'd have to go wait until their main phase for the Star Guardian quick synchro, at which point the Blade Blaster to banish itself to the next standby and bring back the Mighty off this, bring back the Blade off its own effect, is no longer going to be available. So there's not really much point in doing that. What I am going to do is I'm going to pass to my opponent's turn here. When the opportunity comes up, I'm going to use the Star Guardian effect to quick synchro. We have a level 5 tuner and a level 5 non-tuner, light and dark, and quick synchro into a light dark Chaos Angel, which now then going to protect all the synchros from battle and from your opponent's effects. So you get to leave all of this on the board. It's going to be very hard for your opponent to out. You get the banish off the Chaos Angel, double banish off the Glaive, potentially if you can bring one of their guys back. Might be something impactful, obviously don't know ultimately what that might be, but just being able to banish something and then steal it is pretty nice. Mighty is on board, it's going to be protected by the Chaos Angel. And then at your next turn, if you want, you can go all clear, pop it, get a search. Mighty also get to dump the limiter removal from deck, which you can banish to a cycle back, because you're going to control a machine TG, the all clear. So it generates a lot of follow-up, and that's possible off of any engine that gives you a level 1 tuner and level 1 non-tuner. The ones that immediately came to my mind that I was just looking through were, as I mentioned before, the Terratop and the Kepler Lamia with the gate. You can even play 3 Kepler, 3 gate, just because gate will then gate your Lamia, which can function as just a free level 1 tuner extender. You go Snack Eye Ash, it gets impermed. Okay, you go gate search Lamia, Lamia special itself, and then off that line, you're going to make this board, which is not the most oppressive, but it does still represent a lot. If you open other cards, maybe you open the counter trap, and you're going to be able to set that up as well. So that's just an alternative. If you're trying to stay away from having to shell out for a Deception Core, because that stuff's crazy expensive, there is still a lot you can do with other engines. You're just not going to have that protection from the Ilia Sylvia, so you're going to probably want to go Crossouts and Cold Buy instead for that.